Hello and welcome to Radio Tiny House. I'm Barry Smith.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to talk about Goatmagedon.
Yes.
We're going to talk about how our goats have attacked our bunny hutch. We're going to talk about how the dog then attacked the chickens. We're going to talk about continued mini split woes. We're going to talk about tiny house and shed home news, some of which is kind of cool, and the crazy weather we've been having lately.
Yeah. Well, not only do we live in a tiny house, we are kind of hobby farming in our tiny house.
Right. Well, not in the tiny house.
True.
Around
Sometimes
the tiny
it
house.
feels like we're hobby farming in the house. We've had goats in the house. We've had dogs in the house that are not ours.
We haven't had chickens in the house.
We haven't taken the chickens in the house. Anyway, I know that a lot of you that are thinking about tiny house living are thinking about hobby farm living.
Right.
So that's why we wanted to share some of our crazy stories. We talk a lot about shed building and a tiny house building, but the realities of life are there too.
Well,
so we thought you might enjoy some of our crazy farm stories.
And that's one of the things we like to convey. Not only do we want to convey a desire to help you build your tiny house or your shed home or your barn dominium or your teepee, whatever it might be that you can build wherever you live. We want to share with you some of the experiences that you might have that are similar to what we go through on a mostly daily basis.
The more animals you have, the more of a daily basis it is.
Right.
That's what I've decided.
Right. So we're going to lead with Goatmagedon.
Goatmagedon. That was my coined name.
That was indeed. So we have goats.
We have 3.
And we have
Tabby,
right?
Waylon.
Who's the mom?
Right. Tabby, Waylon, and Willie.
Right.
And Willie is a charmer, and Waylon is a jerk.
Willie is the best goat ever.
Right.
I don't know how Tabby could have produced 2 boys that have 2 completely opposite personalities.
Well, it happens in families all the time.
Well, that's true.
That's true.
But Tabby's sweet, and Willie is just the perfect goat. Waylon is a jackass.
Can you say that on podcast?
I just did.
Okay.
So, yes.
Yes. So anyway,
you can bleed it out because you edit this, but I don't think we need to bleed. No, that would be sheep.
That would be to mat it out.
Yeah, back it out. Yes. So
that was good. Yes.
Yeah, he's a jackass.
Yeah, and so our barn, we usually lock them up at night, and for our barn doors have gotten jammed because Waylon bangs at them, and he's finally corrupted one of them enough that it's jammed, so we can't lock them up at night. So we have been leaving them out at night.
Right.
Well, they figured out that they can or Waylon has figured out that he had a bang on the gate to the chickens, which is a smaller part of his fenced-in area, to get the gate open, but we didn't know that. So one night, about 11:30?
No, it was about 12:15 the first time it happened. You and I went outside because the dog was going crazy, and Waylon had gotten into the area that we keep
the chicken
coop and our bunny hutch, and had busted in the door to the bunny hutch and knocked off their little, what would you call it, ramp that goes up to their second level.
they busted the door in, and they have a ramp that they go up and down. Yeah,
so
we busted that all up.
We fixed it as best as we could in the middle of the night, and then went out first thing Saturday morning and screwed everything back together.
Right, and it looked pretty good.
Well, night before last, Waylon hit again.
He did. So he banged on the gate enough to get it open, which we didn't know he could do. The other time it hadn't really been latched all the way. But this time I double checked it, and he really banged on it with his horns, and he got the thing open, which was fine. He just wanted chicken food. Waylon is not a threat to the chickens. But Boo, our great peer, is a threat to the chickens. She doesn't really eat them, but she mouths them and tries to chase the bunnies and everything because she thinks that that's her job, is to corral everybody. But they don't want to be corralled in the middle of the night. And then, of course, the chickens, and she just mouths them and carries them around. But the chickens don't like that too much.
No, they don't.
Neither do the bunnies. So
we were sitting. We had been watching to show you what kind of nerds we are. We're watching the
what were we watching?
Avenger movies.
Oh yeah, all in
timeline order.
Right.
But Cash, who's our daughter's not my dog.
Right. She's not really her dog, but he lives at her house.
So he's not our grand dog.
Right.
Was staying at our house because Caroline was out of town. And he was just going crazy. He wanted to go outside. He was barking at something. He rarely barks at much of anything.
We didn't hear any of this, but he obviously was hearing it.
And so we went outside to see what was going on. We looked in the front yard, and there was nothing going on in the front yard. But I went out back and noticed that the gate was open to the chicken bunny area.
Yeah.
Or bunny chicken area. Chicken bunny. Bunny chicken, chicken bunny. Either way.
Right.
So I called Beth, and we went out there to see what was going on. And all of the chickens were,
running all around.
So they had to be corralled. And the goats were kind of standing in the barn with their heads poking out, looking at the show that they had created for themselves.
That's right.
And Boo was chasing the chickens still, so I had to hold back this great peer who, I mean, I'm not a small guy, but she can pull me all around the yard.
That's why he gets that job.
And and Beth went after the chickens.
Yes, I have picked them up enough to where they're not really pets because they may end up in my cooking pot someday, so I don't really make them pets. But we
only have one named.
Right, Hey.
Because she's stupid.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so they are trained enough that when I go up to them, they do squat. Some chickens will do that, and they kind of squat down so I can grab them. I'm not trained, but they're used to me enough.
It's just a reflex.
Yeah, but they're used to me enough. They don't run totally away from me. So anyway, I corralled all the chickens, got them back in their hutch, got the gate shut. We did as best we could with a bunny hutch to get it, and we still had one bunny out. And actually, I'm not even sure that bunny ever got caught. I don't know, because that wasn't my job. Caroline was going to chase down the bunny the next day. So anyway, we put it all back together as best we could. We put a latch on the gate so the goat now hopefully can't get in.
Right.
But when you have a mixture of animals and things like that, you have to be ready and expect that these crazy things are going to happen. Now, we would not have known if we hadn't had the dog that was our grand dog staying with us. We would never have heard it because all kind of was quiet. With all the goings on was kind of quiet.
Right, because Boo, our great peer, does not... When she's chasing the chickens, she doesn't bark. She doesn't make any noise.
Well, anyway, that's what's our Goatmagedon. So if you decide to getting out and getting land, you need to know that there may be some days that you will have things like this happen.
Right, and she is an excellent guard for the goats.
I mean, nobody's coming in her area if she's defending it.
You wouldn't want to have a German Shepherd or something like that because their prey drive is too high. Hers is really, really low, but her chase drive is pretty high.
She has a high chase drive.
She loves chasing the chickens. I don't even know if that's such a
thing, but I agree. She has a high chase drive.
She has a very high chase drive.
That's our Goatmagedon.
Goatmagedon. We continue to have many split issues.
Yeah, I don't know. We're calling the people now. We thought we fixed it. Now we're having to call the people and have them come and really clean this out. But Barry's been suctioning it out. We've been putting stuff down the drain lines. We've been doing stuff, and we think we've got it fixed. And he'll tell me, "Hey, I've done this way." I'm like, "That's great." And then it leaks.
Right. Well, yes, indeed.
So just know, call a professional because it's probably something, and we're going to do it too, even though it's a little pricey. We're going to do it too.
As you know from our last episode, we had a big leak.
We had
with our upstairs
not a
split.
Leak, but a
drip.
A drain line stoppage, basically.
And so we took the unit apart. Mm-hmm. Well, we took the facade, the face of it off, the plastic cover for it.
Doing things I'm sure your air conditioner
guy would
not recommend.
But
do not follow our lead.
We cleaned the snot out of the drain line and the...
Being the operative term.
Yes, it may have been... It could have been snot.
It could have been air conditioner snot.
Could have been. That's what I'm going to start calling it that. Our air conditioner snotting again.
Oh, it's frustrating because we have had a ton of rain. We've had a ton of humidity. And today it's going to be humid and 98.
7, I think, today.
97, 98. So yeah, we're leaving the air up really high to try to minimize that because we thought we had it fixed last week. We did a whole YouTube video podcast on it, and we'll let you watch that. I'll put that in the cards to recommend that so you can watch that one.
So you can watch them in order if you want to.
We're still not there. And that is, when you live in a house that when you any house, right? And you kind of a DIYer in particular, right? Because if we had already called the air conditioner guy and it was leaking again, I just get on the phone and call him back.
Right.
But we've been trying to solve this ourselves, partly because of timing, because it starts to leak in the night or on the weekend.
Right. Always at an inconvenient time.
So I'm like, I'm not calling and paying a weekend service charge. So anyway, now I got to call the guy.
think last evening, I guess, I went out and hooked up the shop vac to it again and left it running for, I don't know, 10 minutes. And I finally heard the tone change and heard kind of the, I don't know what kind of noise it would make, like that, like something being sucked out of a straw. And that seemed, right now, it seems to be okay. So we're going to hope that was whatever, it pulled out whatever snot. If it's snotting, then that would be a booger, right? So it's a condensation line booger.
Oh wow! Yeah, so we have an air conditioner line booger.
Right. So it came out, and last night in the night we didn't have any drips, so we'll keep an eye on it today. But we're going to call them today because there's got to be something they can do that we're not doing.
Right. So even though we thought we had it,
but we've tried. We used a plug on it. We got plenty of time. Used a plug on it. We used that new line stuff on it. We haven't put bleach or vinegar in it or anything. I'm kind of frightened to put bleach in the plastic.
Some people have recommended that. The air conditioner guy said to use the product that we put in our video, and we'll put it below in the description in case. But that right now hasn't solved the problem. So I don't know if I want to recommend that product or not, but that's what he told us to use. Anyway,
so
we're still worrying about that.
We're still worrying about that. And hopefully we'll have a report next week that will say the guy came and fixed it.
And got all the boogers out.
Got all the boogers out, right.
Yep. Because that seems to be the problem. All right. What else are we talking about today?
So we've got some tiny house news. It's kind of cool.
Okay.
If you peruse the interwebs, you'll notice that Insider.com, which is not something that I normally go to, but the story was listed there, had a story on tiny house costs are still going up. I think.
Well, of course.
I think the cost of everything is going up still. I did read an article that prices of lumber were starting to come down, but I haven't seen where that's happening.
I saw one this morning that said something like a 68% drop. Now, that doesn't mean that, because it was up like 300%, some of it. So that doesn't mean it's come down to pre-COVID prices, but I haven't seen that at my Home Depot, but that's what I read.
Well, we live in a smaller community, so it may take time to trickle down to our Home Depot, but
yeah.
But the cost to build a typical tiny house in 2019 was about $65,000 to $70,000, and today,
which is where we ended up with our Tuff Shed.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Okay. I read ahead. So it was about $50,000 to build it in 2019, and today to build that same house would be $65,000 to $70,000. So
what percentage increase is that? I can't do the math in my head.
Well, you got a phone right there.
I do. I'm gonna. While he talks, I'm gonna go check out the.
So what the article said was.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know that I do right now.
That's about a 30 or 40% increase.
Yeah, it's a huge increase.
That's a lot.
So, especially for something that people want to go into for cost savings, usually.
Well, we built 3 years ago, and we bought our Tuff Shed for about 22 by the time we added. If you've seen our viral, we didn't do it, but. Several people went viral with it.
Viral happened to us.
Right, viral happened to us. So if you've seen our house on the internet, a lot of people say, what? You can buy a house from Home Depot and they have a sticker that says $12,000. And that's not correct.
Right.
Right? And I don't even know what size or where that sticker for $12,000 for that building came from.
Right, because ours was never $12,000.
Never $12,000. Don't believe it. But we bought it all in by the time we added different roofing. We added some other things, added a door, added some window openings, changed up the windows a little bit. I can't remember what else we did. But anyway, we had to up it for code. A couple of things that we had to do to meet our code in our county. Anyway, all in, that Home Depot building was somewhere around 21.
Right.
I have the receipt somewhere. Anyway, and so then by the time you add all in, and we did a lot of the work ourselves, but we subcontracted out a lot of the work ourselves. We've talked about that before. We don't do things that will kill us because we think that's a bad idea.
It is.
We're not roofers. We don't do, and we hate doing drywall. Plumbers, we're not plumbers or electricians, so we hired all that stuff out. And anyway, so in all that together, we came in somewhere about 62, maybe 61, 62.
Between 60 and 65.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I mean, not to say that we're cavalier about those few thousand,
right.
but we didn't check every single receipt,
no.
I have to confess. I didn't know there was going to be questions later, okay? Anyway, so, but now, if you would take that same number and just say 30% more, right? So we were all in at 60. I can do the math. 30% would be 90.
Right.
Right? And people go, $90,000? That's just crazy. Well, that's what it costs right now to have a house that's habitable.
Right.
And if you do the math, it's whatever it is per square foot. And I try to help people when they're saying, can I build something for $100,000 or $200,000 or $50,000? I try to say, you need to look at a per square foot basis, right? So you kind of get an idea of what's being built in your area and what it's going to cost.
Right. And what it's going to cost if you do it by yourself versus hiring contractors.
Yes, I used to say,
or the
and
trades
I don't even know the trades. I don't even know if this is accurate anymore, but I used to say pre-COVID or 2 months ago, whatever you spend for the outside of your building, that's the first third of what you need to live in, right? And and the foundation, of course, and then the interior, and then the trades. So if the first third is 30 for the outside, let's say, then inside walls and things, another 30%, and then electricians, plumbers, all those other things, maybe another third. Right. So triple it if you're getting help, and you'll end up at the right place, about the right place, depending on your finishes and all the crazy things you feel like you have to have in your house.
You could put gold light fixtures in if you wanted to, but
but if you're going with standard stuff, I think that's a pretty good. We used to be a pretty good rule of thumb. It may still be. I haven't really calculated, but anyway, so tiny houses, as everything else, are going up, but also in proportion, you're not spending as much to start with. Southern Living just ran an article that I should share. Maybe we'll do that next week. Southern Living just ran an article that for downsizers, which we are, we downsized our daughter to the front yard.
Right.
Our front yard, but...
she's in a house.
Well, yeah,
she's
we
not
make her live in the front
yard.
Not in a tent. For downsizers, the ideal size is 800 square feet. Well, we're at 768, so I guess we're ideal.
We are ideal. You're ideal.
Well, thank you very much. Okay.
So the next little bit of news is from Business Insider. I think this is kind of cool. And it is kind of tiny house related as well as related, the postman is here, as well as related to business that you could work from your tiny house, concrete home, all this kind of stuff. A Dutch company designed and built a concrete 3D printed tiny house in Canada at a place called Kootenay Lake, which is a fun word to say, actually. Kootenay.
How do you have a concrete house in Canada where it's freezing cold?
Well,
did they insulate it?
They
did
insulate it somehow, but the walls are also very thick.
So they're using thermal mass.
Yes.
To keep them warm.
But it's the process is really cool, and if you like neat building projects, you might want to take a look at that. It's Business Insider. You could probably look it up by doing 3D printed house in Canada. Right now, it's the only 3D printed house in Canada, and it's not the only concrete house in Canada, but it is the only concrete 3D printed. The process is fascinating.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of it, and I've heard that they haven't been approved or nobody's doing it here in the U.S., but I think they're trying to use it particularly in third world countries where, there would be less worry about building codes and things. But, I mean, it is fascinating. They set up this big gantry, if you will, and then they just 3D print it like you'd print a piece of equipment.
It's really cool. This one was done in sections.
It's sort of like ice cream. The one I saw is like you're squeezing out ice cream. You're a cake decorator and you're building a house.
That's kind of what it looks like. But you can book a night or 2 nights or 10 nights.
In the 3D printed house?
In the 3D printed house in Kootenay Lake Village, Canada. It's $130 a night. If you're planning a trip to Kootenay Bay, and who isn't,
Yeah, who is it?
You can click that link and book your stay. It's probably pretty popular. I don't know. If you'd be able to stay, if you want to go now or in the fall, you might have to go in the winter. I don't know.
Airbnb is actively looking for people with unique houses.
Yep.
And my theory is people who, we had Chris, I think his last name, Chris Gerhardt on.
Right.
A couple months ago as he is building an Airbnb.
A tiny house Airbnb.
Yeah, out of a shed,
right.
Basically. Well, not really a shed, but it's on wheels. It's part of their cabin division of the shed distributorship that he works with.
Right.
And so he's got that in his backyard effectively. But Airbnb is looking for grain silos and 3D printed houses. And I did read that there was one of these houses, and it's eluding me right at the minute, but that's different like this, like a concrete house or something like this. They're booked 5 years in advance.
Right.
5
Which
years.
Is crazy.
It's crazy. How do you even know in 5 years that you want to go to Airbnb? And honestly, most of those are non-refundable. If you can't go, you just lose your money.
Right.
So, if you're thinking about doing something tiny, one of the things I really encourage people to think about is once you gain the skills, if you've done a lot of this DIY, and we're starting to do a playlist on the channel about work from home stuff. But Airbnbs or groups of places where you can have people park their tiny homes, all that stuff, can be big business. There's not a lot of, when you're doing tiny, there's not a lot of margin. I mean, you have to do a lot of small things to get to a big return, right? But there's business. There's business there.
There is indeed.
It's a huge business. Okay.
So
it's a tiny, huge business.
It's
a huge, tiny business.
Yes, a huge tiny business. So the next thing we want to talk about after that, you got any more questions about our comments on
I don't. I want to go now. I want to go stay in a 3D concrete printed house.
I would think, I don't know for sure, but I would think that the weather in Kootenai Bay, Canada is probably a little cooler than what we're having here.
But it might be as rainy.
It might be as rainy. Yeah, when we lived in the Pacific Northwest,
it was rainy.
Well, during the summers were great, mostly. 2 months. 2 months out of the year was great. On the 5th of July, from the 5th of July to September 5, it was nice. And then it was
rainy and cold and dark.
Cold and dark. Not dark.
But now we only wear black because this is actually navy. I went really crazy today.
Oh, that's navy?
Yeah. What are you wearing? Black.
Faded black. Yes.
Faded black. It's like the hipster version of black. Yeah, because when you live in Seattle, you only wear black.
Yeah, you get used to no color. I mean, I when we lived of course, we lived in Charleston and
we've lived everywhere.
I would wear pink shirts there. When we lived in Louisiana, I would wear pink shirts. When we moved to the Pacific Northwest, if you wear color, people look at you like you've lost your mind.
In fact, I had this cute little outfit on. I had a white shirt, my jeans, and some cute pink shoes. And I went to a neighborhood potluck. And one of the guys says, "Why are you wearing pink shoes?" I'm like, "Because I like them. I think they're really cute." He's like, "You haven't been in Seattle long enough. You'll get rid of those." I'm like, "No, I'm going to keep my pink shoes." And while we were in Seattle, I kept my pink shoes just for spite.
Right.
They were cute little loafers. But and now I'm just like, black.
We've got other here to talk about Austin, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
So has that been canceled?
Yeah, we were going to go to Austin, Texas to the Tiny House Festival, but from what we can tell, it's not going to be a good fit for us. It's kind of hard to know. And so we think we're just going to hold off on our travels there, and we're going to do some other interview travel that doesn't include going to Texas.
Right. I love going to these shows that have a lot of different types of tiny houses because it's interesting to see what other people are doing. But a lot of them are now they're tiny house shows, and they are tiny houses, but there's lots of converted school buses.
So by the hundred. The last one we went to.
There were a couple of converted buses, and there was only
and a van or two.
But the last tiny home we went to, there was really only one.
I think there were two.
Well, there were
maybe three.
The two that looked like
real traditional tiny
home. Office.
Right.
Like we went in and talked to those guys, and then there was the one that was for sale that was a real tiny house on wheels. And, we had been to several of these in the past where you just walk into a building and there's just all sorts of
different
configurations and houses, and they're on wheels and they're not on wheels. And that's kind of what I like to do, because I want to see sheds that are converted to tiny homes. I want to see houses, tiny houses on wheels. I want to see interesting tiny houses, but not just all of the same thing.
All right.
So maybe they should start calling some of these schooly shows.
Yeah, maybe. I do think they're having like a nomad, someone that lives in Atlanta. Not Atlanta, Georgia. His name is John Kiernan. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, he hosts the Tiny House Festival that we went to. And he also is hosting something called a Nomad Festival. And I think that's a better outlet for the schoolies. But we'll see. Anyway,
the gypsy wagons, or anything else.
You can't say that.
What are they calling them now then?
Vardos.
Vardos?
Mm-hmm. You can't say gypsy.
Well, crap.
We'll edit that out. You can say that again. You can't say gypsy. You hurt somebody's feeling. Anyway, so the Vardo wagons are something that people are kind of getting into,
right?
But that's not really a tiny house. That's like I don't think
that's a place to sleep.
Yeah, it's a place to sleep. And the other thing is, we've talked a little bit about the fact that we believe in tiny houses on foundations, even though tiny house on wheels, there is a purpose for that. RVs have been around for a long time. Mobile homes have been around for a long time. I think a tiny house on wheels is an upgrade from both of those, right? Our state won't let you live in something on wheels for the rest of your life. So you have to either be in a campground temporarily, or you have to have like a mobile home. And our county won't even approve mobile homes because they were built so shoddily and they started falling apart and people were living in bad housing.
You can have a double or triple wide, but you can't have a single wide. Or have they changed that altogether?
No, you're right. You can't have a single wide, which is like a tiny house on wheels is basically a single wide mobile home upgraded.
Right.
I hope upgraded. Anyway, so we are moving toward, I think our emphasis is, our shed home conversion, but that has become so problematic for folks because so many people see sheds on the corner everywhere you go, and they want to turn that into their house.
Right.
And so many states, counties, cities won't allow that.
Right.
That people go down a pathway and get caught. We've talked about that before.
Well, the majority of sheds that are out there, drag and drop, ready removable, whatever you want to call them, they're not designed to be houses, and they're very difficult to turn into houses.
And if they're not built right, in our Facebook groups, we see like mold coming up the bottom.
Yep.
We see leaks everywhere. We've been lucky in the office that we don't have any of that, but we don't use it like a house.
Right.
Right. It doesn't have really a proper foundation because we use it kind of as a 3-season room, so we don't have to worry so much about vapor like showers and stuff like that. Anyway. So as you know, we've talked about this a little bit. I'm working with a local manufacturer to try to come up with an inexpensive house that's like our shed, which has been discontinued from Tuff Shed, because they wanted to get out of the house building business.
Right.
And so I'm working with someone to try to recreate the equivalent of our house, but still keep the money where it is, be built to code, and have an engineer stamp if necessary, to get people to be able to have. But still be at a price point where people can buy it. Right. You can, if you had to, put it on a good sized credit card. Yeah. Right. So. You mean like a credit card that's just a very big credit card? Yes. But we've talked about this coming out. I hope in September. I'm meeting with the folks tomorrow, I think. But anyway, the point is, there are tiny houses and there are houses everywhere, but more and more because of the cost that you just talked about. Right. We've got to figure out some way that when your first home, like our eldest daughter, is looking at a first house and it's going to be in the 300s at least, right? She has some reasons that she has to add some things, whatever. She needs a workshop and blah, blah. But it's hard for our kids, to come up with $300,000 for houses. So we're doing everything we can to try to figure out, yes, you have to have land. That's gone crazy. Everybody's
Yeah.
moving out of the cities. All of a sudden, they're moving from California to Texas. They're moving from New York to here. Actually, there's a lot of people that are living in Georgia
They're
that
buying
have out of state
farmhouses that are
right
on
and of course,
100 acres or 1 acre. Even.
or 1 acre. Of course, Airbnb is contributing, even though I don't think it's the whole thing, but people are having Airbnbs. Everybody wants to stay in an Airbnb. I don't want to stay in a hotel anymore now that I've been staying in a bed and breakfast. So anyway, there's a lot of things that are happening that's making the housing really go crazy.
Right.
So we're really working hard to try to find an answer to that problem.
Yes, and I think that this.
And I'm going to sneeze. Phew! Ah!
Bless you.
Thank you.
That was a good sneeze
Thank
too.
you.
You got 2 more in there?
Usually I sneeze in threes. I might
Sneeze in 3s.
sneeze in threes. I might actually come up with another one. Just give me a minute.
Just do make sure you turn your head, because we've already experienced air conditioning snot. We don't need microphone snot.
Right, human snot.
So I think that this house is going to be that Beth has created with the help of a company just down the street from us, literally.
Yeah. Somebody that I was a customer of.
Right. It's going to be something that's really cool. Actually, we're going to do something cool with a backdrop for our studio here out of similar material.
Right.
But that won't be today because it's just hot in here.
Oh, there's no way.
But
I'm not building
I think
anything.
this is going to be a solution, I think, to a lot of housing issues for a lot of people that would like to have something that looks like our house, or that is smaller but more affordable, and is built to code and engineer stamped and all that kind of fun
Right.
stuff.
And while this isn't an ad for that product, I just want folks to know that there are potential solutions to
Right.
that. I mean, it doesn't have to be this product. Yes, if you decide that you want to buy it, great. But, our emphasis is trying to help people figure it out. And I got so tired of people going, I can't figure it out.
Right.
So I'm like, but I know the answer. But the answer needs to be more able to cover more areas, right? Instead of trying to do something unique for every situation, I need to find something that can cover, you can build almost anywhere.
Right. And again, we would encourage you to, because we can't demand it, right, of you. We can't say you will do this, but we would like to encourage you, if you're going to build anything, make sure that you check with your county.
Yes, please.
And you check with your city or your municipality, a town, whatever it might be.
Or your HOA, if you're unfortunate enough to have one.
Right. And build it to code.
Yes.
And, we were able to work with Tuff Shed when we built our home. Yes, the shell was sold as a shed, but we built our home to code, and actually we did it better than code because the construction technique we used was more than what the code required. We didn't do 2x4 walls; we did 2x6 walls, and that helped a lot with insulation. There were lots of reasons we wanted to do that, but make sure you build it to code. Just don't go buy one of these ready removable sheds and just insulate it and put sheetrock up and then go live in it, because you may not be living in it for long if the county finds out and they come and kick you out.
Now, of course, please check that. And there are many counties that don't require, that don't have building codes, and you can do that. Those are rural. But of course, if you're going to be homeless,
We're right. Well,
a
yes,
shed is a big wooden tent, if you will, and it's a lot better if you can figure that out if you're going to be homeless. But
if that's your options of being homeless or living in a not to code ready removable, then live in the ready removable.
But if you can figure out a way that you can meet code, be in a safe house, and have an investment that you can get your money back. Sheds are kind of disposable. I mean, they'll eventually rot.
Yeah, I mean,
unless you do it just right, get everything just right.
That's the other thing. When you have a shed that's like what we're in right now, if you build a house out of it, you're going to have to, if you ever get to the point where you have to sell it and it's not built to code, you're going to have problems with that. And then even if it is built to code, you're going to have to find the right buyer that wants to move into that.
Right. So if getting your investment out of it, maybe I see them on Marketplace all the time. I bought this, I started the project, it's half done or whatever, and I can't sell it. So anyway, we were in a little bit of a rabbit hole, but
yes, we are.
I just think that we are trying to figure this out for folks so there won't be so many questions.
Right.
We're hoping for a September build. The manufacturer's actually building a prototype for us, which is amazing. And so we're going to be videotaping it. We'll be creating as much information as we can about it so you can see what they're come up with.
Right.
They gave me the opportunity to kind of design the look. I'm not a builder. I mean, obviously we know enough to
built
to be dangerous, but they've given me the opportunity to kind of design it and create with the specification. It has to be code compliant. It has to be, because we have to solve, but it has to be inexpensive and
Right.
So there are a lot of things that they've agreed to help me with because I think they're on board with the vision
right.
about what we need.
Yeah, I think that, and that's the big thing, is that the manufacturer sees a need and has bought into the vision.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, it's cool. Well, more about that as we know more, and as we have a date, we'll probably do some live video
We
or
probably
something
will.
from there.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
Yeah, if they'll allow us to do that, then we'll do. I'd actually like to show the whole process.
Well, we'll videotape the whole process.
Yeah.
That's for sure. We'll be out there sweating to the oldies, probably.
Sweating with the oldies.
With the oldies as it gets put up. But we're looking at a September date. I think that's still intact with crazy, shortages and lack of labor and all those things. But we're going to aim for that.
Yep. But you can. We'd love for you to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can click the link and then hit the thumbs up, and that way you get notified whenever we have a new video
And
out.
we try to do it weekly.
We do try to do it weekly, and sometimes we do them strongly. But
True.
we do try to do them every week. But you can reach us at radiotinyhouse@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at Tiny Houses Shed Homes, and I think that's it.
There you go.
We are on, if you're listening on podcasts, we're everywhere podcasts can be found.
Excellent.
How about that?
That's perfect.
All right. Have a great week, and we will see you next week if we're not burned to a crisp from the heat.
I gotcha.
Bye.